be, yeah, we'll be starting. I am So obviously we've got myself, Emanuela and Maddie. So myself and Emanuela are from Modo25, and we've got Maddie here from TikTok Shop. And the aim of this webinar is to talk you through how brands use trends to help grow. We obviously also want to touch on the paid ad side of things on TikTok, because I feel like this is a channel where still a lot of companies are trying to test the water. A lot of clients that we work with are dipping their toes into it a little bit now. So we wanted to kind of like highlight some of the benefits and the importance of using TikTok ads as well. And then obviously TikTok Shop as well, which if you're like me, you will get suckered into everything that pops up on TikTok Shop now. But for businesses, big or small, we really want to just kind of go through how you can get set up and what the benefits are for your business of running on TikTok Shop. So as a brief agenda, we're not going to do a huge intro into TikTok, as we're kind of assuming that everybody by now has heard of TikTok. I am probably brain rotting like myself most of the time. But so we're going to do a little bit of an intro, but not too much, mainly going into what TikTok trends are, kind of how they develop, how you can leverage them to grow your brand, a few kind of top tips and best practice for trend-based growth, and then the paid and organic side of things, and obviously the TikTok Shop side of things as well. And then we've got time for some questions and answers at the end. So just as a brief intro, I'm Bex, so Rebecca Waller. I am Senior Performance Marketing Manager here at Modo25. So I specialise primarily in paid search, social on the paid side, but I also do organic social media as well. So I mean, it's like an interest of mine because I'm pretty obsessed with social media. So I'm going to come in with the trend side of things. I didn't put loads of examples of trends in here because aware that what you see as a trend might be completely different, because the algorithm will give me things about hinge boys and things like this. So trends will probably be different for different people. But yeah, that's me. Overall, I've been working in marketing for about 9 years now. So it's a long time. Emanuela, do you just want to give a brief intro?
Yes, thank you. So yeah, hi everyone. My name is Emanuela. I'm the Senior Paid Social Account Manager here at Modo25. And I spend over 7 years helping brands grow through strategic and data-informed paid social accounts across all major platforms, from TikTok to Meta, Pinterest, and LinkedIn. Thank you.
And then we've got Maddie as well, who's joining us from TikTok. So Maddie, if you want to give a little brief intro to yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I lead the kind of fashion growth team at TikTok Shop, and our job is to help brands, retailers, wholesalers, whatever, start to sell on the platform and then scale you to some kind of sustainable revenue figure. So we help you through those early milestone stages. While I specialize and lead the team in fashion, I've been given a clear brief. Not everyone here is fashion, not even most of you are fashion. So I'm going to be speaking in terms of home and living, beauty, fashion, supplements, all of it.
Bit of everything. Fab. So, like I said, we're not going to spend too long in terms of an intro into TikTok. But I think we probably all know by now that it has completely transformed the way brands can connect with their audience. So I feel like no matter how big or small you are as a brand, it's such a good opportunity for not just sales with obviously advertising and TikTok Shop and things, but building that connection with your customers and staying relevant to your audience. I never really like to say going viral. And if a client comes to me and says, can you make me go viral? I think it's a really tricky KPI to hit. But with this platform, you do have an ability to basically go viral overnight and blow up overnight. So there is a big opportunity there to get your brand out there. This graph on the right here is just showing that trend in terms of TikTok search going up and Instagram coming down. Instagram's still slightly ahead of the curve, as you can see in the red. But you can obviously see that TikTok growth is massively increased and is pretty much getting to the point of where Instagram was. In terms of brief overview, the algorithm on TikTok will push content based around interest, not follow accounts. So again, like I said, brands can gain visibility really quickly. One thing to bear in mind from a branding point of view, it is those brands that are doing unpolished, raw, kind of behind the scenes content, which is performing better than things that are really heavily curated. Let's start with TikTok, has over 1 billion active users. We are seeing engagement is higher than Instagram and Facebook now on this platform. And as I said before, it's not just an awareness platform. Obviously you can monetize through this, which is what we want to touch on today. Typically we would say it is more of an awareness platform, just in terms of a funnel where we would say it's brand awareness and things, but obviously there are features within the platform which can help you monetize and drive conversion. In terms of TikTok Shop, Maddie, I don't know if you want to just do a real quick overview of TikTok Shop from your experience actually with that.
Yeah, for sure. I'll do a 20 seconds and I'll go in a little bit further when we do my presentation. But TikTok Shop basically gives people the chance to buy a product at that moment of inspiration. So that moment they see that viral video for the first time, or that moment that they hop into a live stream and relate to your brand, they can buy. And where it's different to the likes of Instagram is that it doesn't redirect the user to a website to then get lost, to maybe not buy. It keeps the funnel super tight, keeps it really easy for the customer, and make sure that all that kind of hard work you're putting into marketing translates into actual revenue at the end of the day.
Thank you. Just a bit about what you'll learn throughout this. So how TikTok trends work, why they matter for growth, how to spot, adapt and create trend-based content, the best tips for going viral, and then how to balance organic trends and your paid TikTok campaigns. And then obviously we're going to go through TikTok Shop as well. So in terms of understanding TikTok trends, a trend is typically a piece of content, whether that's a sound, a filter, a challenge, that people will continue to replicate and put a spin on things, and the algorithm pushes that out to the masses. It's a short period of time on TikTok. I think they probably last about 3 weeks. I'm going to talk about stats on like how quickly you need to jump into those. But it is one piece of content. People will put spins on it, and the audio or the challenge will go viral. How they emerge is there's a spark initially, so it'll be a creator or a brand who's going to post something either controversial, unique, funny, unexpected. It's usually something that is relatable and it's engaging. It'll probably start quite small and then it will gain traction as more people start to comment and like and save these different posts, sending it to their friends because it's relevant, it makes sense to them. It's like a humor joke between the friendship group. As it goes on, more users will join in. They'll put their own spin on things. TikTok will begin to push that trend out to a broader audience via the For You page. So that main page when you're scrolling through. Brain rotting in bed on an evening, that's where you'll start to see the same kind of trends pop up. An algorithm boost. So TikTok's For You page will pick up on rapid engagement, high watch time and recreation. So the algorithm will then further widen that reach out to the masses. You'll then hit that late stage saturation point. So it will hit its peak. More users have hopped on the trend. And at this stage, it will either remix into a different variation of the trend, or it will just completely die down. And then that's when you get to the fade out stage. So things will drop off, the new trend will be in, and everyone will have forgotten about the trend that was going viral a few weeks ago. In terms of spotting a trend, staying ahead of trends is obviously key to making an impact on TikTok. So I'm going to just go through a couple of ways you can spot trends on the platform. So watching out for any viral sounds. So there's a sounds library you can look at. One thing that I would say working in social media is it is time consuming to spot trends and pick things that are relevant for your brand. Like I would say, most of the time I say just sit and do some scroll time, which is quite good for us because I love being on TikTok, so I can say it's research for work. But it's a good way to kind of get an understanding of the same pieces of content that are coming up, and then how you can save those and kind of look to repurpose them at a later date, but just not too late. Otherwise it will die and then you look outdated. Analysing engagement. So there might be videos with a certain effect or a transition or like a certain statement that's going viral. So like the propaganda that I'm falling for, propaganda that I'm not falling for, that was kind of all over my For You page not long ago. And then looking at other social media platforms as well. I mean, I would typically say that a trend will take off first on TikTok before it migrates over to the likes of Instagram. But it's always worthwhile looking at those other platforms as well to see if there's anything particular that's standing out. Obviously, you can repurpose this content across your different platforms anyway. But for my clients, if I see something trending on TikTok, I will use it on their Instagram Reels as well, because no doubt it will start to kind of take over onto different platforms. In terms of how to adapt and emerge to a trend, so it is obviously great to adapt and look relevant and look funny or look aesthetic to your audience. But obviously we want to drive engagement and conversions as well. So we're going to just go through how you can tailor trends to fit your brand's voice. In terms of put it into like 4 key breakdowns, so adapting, so you don't have to copy a trend completely. You take a bit of a structure from that, whether it's like a point of view style, and then tailor that to your brand's voice, product, the personality, like I said, the propaganda that I'm falling for. So I had a hair care client, and they're all about promoting like soft girl aesthetic and things like that. So we did the propaganda that I'm falling for, and it was like Pilates princess, matches, Friday nights in and things like that, things that their audience would relate to as well. And same for like a skincare client who's kind of pushing away from more of like the fillers and things like that, but moving more into healthy skin and things like that. So we did a propaganda that I'm falling for, and it was all around like natural beauty and things like that. Things in my like clinic that just makes sense, things in our company that just make sense, things like that do well on the platform. In terms of the tone, so I always kind of try to say to clients, think back to your core pillars from a brand. So if you're educational, making sure you're jumping on more informative trends. If you're kind of like a fun and sassy brand, joining in on more of like the viral audios and memes. And then if you're an aspirational type of brand, aesthetic trend styles typically work best. So again, with the skincare client, she does like the buccal massage of the face. So any kind of content that's really up close on the face, things like that do really well on the platform for that type of brand. And then obviously just stay consistent. So we want people to know that it's you as a brand. Niching down, so make the trend specific to your audience. As I said, was like the propaganda that I'm falling for. We obviously tailored that to make sure it suited what that particular brand was, rather than just pulling things out of the blue, which we thought were funny. We made sure that it niched down to what the brand stood for. And then finally, just piggybacking, so using the trend to grab that attention, but then doing a bit of a set, like a plug at the end. So again, another client of mine, again, it was like the propaganda one. She's really focused on things like lash lifts and things. So we did something around that, but then obviously we had the plug in there. So we hooked them in with this really nice video of a lash lift. And then obviously we plugged that in with the fact that you can get a lash lift here. And then the best tips for going viral. So again, like I said, not everything that you post is going to go viral. Sometimes you might think this is hilarious, it's going to go viral, and it flops, and that's okay. I feel like it's more of the content that's really raw that will just randomly blow up. I've done videos before on TikTok, not saying I'm an influencer or anything, but I've done things before where I've just posted something really silly and I've logged back into the app, and it's got sucked into the algorithm because people have been commenting on it or sharing it and sending it to friends. And I'm like, oh, I'm all of a sudden famous, but that's just like silly content that made sense to me. And because it was so relevant, obviously other girls were kind of like picking up on it and things. So it doesn't always have to be a perfect piece of content to go viral. Like I said, jumping quickly. So you usually would have probably about a 24 to 72 hour window to ride on a trend before it starts to become oversaturated. And the best bit about this is it can be easy content. It doesn't need to be really like highly videographed or anything like that. It can be really raw content, something in the office. Like I said, things like behind the scenes, people seeing the employees and things do really well. Hooking that user in 3 seconds. So having a real strong hook at the start. Again, we recommend this for other social platforms as well. But things like no one's talking about this, or I tested this so you don't have to, or if you struggle with this, then watch this. That immediately will hook that user in because they obviously want to know what you're going to say next. And then personality will win over everything on TikTok. So people want to see relatable, imperfect content, not so much polished ads. So that user-generated content and things like that is great on the platform. Again, you can set things up on your phone, you can video things on your phone. You don't need to invest in really high quality video for things to do well on TikTok as a platform. And that's a real overview of trends. We obviously work with a number of different clients and help them kind of plan out strategies and help them with content calendars. We would usually say we'd plan things a month in advance, but please make sure you've got gaps in your content calendar to jump on any reactive content. So whether you spend a little bit of time on a Monday doing a few scrolls, find something and get that out within the week. Super important to make sure you are staying relevant on the platform. And I'm going to hand over to Emanuela to chat through paid versus organic.
Thank you. So we just explore how trends can spark attention, and now want to shift into what helps brands sustain that attention and the underlying strategies that are driving real long-term growth. And before we talk about those tactics and the content formats, I want to share 3 pillars that explain why strategy really matters. Next one. Yeah, so clarity of purpose. As we know, TikTok, and as Bex was saying, moves fast. And if you're not clear on your voice or your intention, it's easy to get lost in the noise. And so the most successful brands show up with a strong sense of identity. They know why they're on TikTok and who they're speaking to. And so asking yourself the question, are you there to educate, to entertain, or to inspire trust? And it could be all of them. And this clarity makes the creative decision easier. And from what trends you jump on to how you tell your story. And it ensures that even reactive content still feels on brand. And the second pillar is about experimentation. And so brands that do well treat TikTok like a living lab, and they're constantly testing different styles of content or watching what resonates and adapting based on performance. And this doesn't just apply to organic, it's also key in paid, because once you know what hooks are working or what formats your audience loves, then you can confidently boost content, scale spend, or just based on data and not on assumptions. And finally, as Bex mentioned, TikTok can help you also go viral, but views alone don't build a brand. And so the strategy shifts the focus from how many people saw this to who came back and why. And the real growth, and especially on TikTok as a platform, is building community. So when people feel seen by your content and when they can relate to what you're posting, beyond just like the single scroll. And so things like replying to comments or going off live content, or just making that relationship with your community. And so whether you're building organically, running paid, or doing both strategies, what turns fleeting attention into real traction. And so now that we've explored why having a strategy matters, I want to share some of the core strategies that brands are using to drive consistent growth. And these will be into the 2 parts, so organic being the first one, but organic and paid, they both work complementary to each other. So organic, as Bex was mentioning, is the foundation of most brands' presence on TikTok, and where you learn the most about what works. So brands that grow organically don't just post when inspiration strikes, they show up consistently with a clear point of view. And as I mentioned, whether your content is educational or playful, having a strong niche identity helps build recognition and trust. And the algorithm rewards that relevance and repetition. Also creating creator-led or low-fi content, so that's short for low fidelity, which refers to content that feels unpolished or casual and natural, so like that it feels relevant to the user. And we're seeing this type of content outperforming polished studio level content. So it's much easier for brands this moment to don't have to invest heavily on creative that content, but yeah, really making it relevant to the user. And then the community engagement. So it's just, yeah, organic is not just broadcasting content, but building those relationships. And you can also think, it helps to think on content buckets. So looking at perhaps education content, so how to or tips. We do this very well with one of our clients where that sells essentials for new parents, and we're always showing how to, especially when they're asking those questions as you become a new parent. Or entertainment, so what challenges as a parent you're facing, and also using those of trending sounds. And behind the scenes, so packing orders or teen moments, or if you have a store, how is it to go into the store. And as we mentioned, trends with a twist, so jumping on those trends but making it that it makes sense to your brand. And then once we build the strong organic presence, if we go to the next slide, please. Paid is what helps you scale the content and learnings that are already working. So one of the simplest and most effective paid strategies is boosting your top performing organic posts. So you can use TikTok Ads Manager to take that content that already has a strong engagement and put a spend behind it. And this it ensures that your budget goes towards creative that's already being validated by the algorithm, by the audience that you already have that community relationship with. And instead of launching big campaigns every few months, so that's what we used to do a few years ago when I was working with big like retail brands. Now we're focusing on running always on strategies, and this means keeping a small budget live at all times to gather performance data and test new creatives and stay top of mind. And if you're only using one paid format on TikTok, make it Sparks Ads, and these allows you to boost existing posts, either from your account or from creators, whilst keeping all the original likes, comments, or engagements, and is a powerful way to merge the authenticity of organic with the scale and targeting of paid. And finally, if you're running TikTok Shop, and Maddie will go this in more detail, or either any other type of campaign that is driving that purchase, is setting up the TikTok pixel so that you're able to run its retargeting strategies, but also understand who your audience is on the platform. So to summarize, organic helps you build community and learn what resonates. Paid helps you scale that success, test faster, and drive measurable business outcomes. And the most effective brands use both, and not in isolation, but as part of a feedback loop where one informs the other. And before I wrap up, I kind of just want to zoom out for a moment and talk about how TikTok fits in your broader marketing strategy, because its impact often goes beyond what we see directly on platform. So as I previously mentioned, is a testing ground. So amazing space to test the content and to see what's resonating, and then from these make content for other platforms. And second, TikTok now plays a big role in how people discover and search for information. So they see something on TikTok and then go to Google to look it up. And sometimes what we're seeing is that users are just using TikTok as their main search engine. So really important to be there. And then finally, TikTok often sparks interest that leads to action somewhere else. And what we're seeing is that actually users, if you have a physical store, they're seeing TikTok ads and also going and converting through the physical stores to make a purchase. So a lot of brands are seeing TikTok as the place that starts the journey, even if it doesn't close the sale. And just looking at kind of some facts and of the impact of having paid or combining paid and organic is that we're seeing a 2 times higher ROAS compared to just running paid alone, and brand awareness also increases by around 173% after just 2 exposures on the platform. And 54% of users say they have bought something after seeing it on TikTok. So that continues to show why, yeah, it's important to be on the platform.
Thank you. And I think that it from you, Emanuela, and we hand over to Maddie now.
Yeah, thank you.
Fabulous. All right. Maddie, have you got some slides to go through if I stop sharing?
I do indeed, yeah.
Okay, I will stop and let you.
Them up. Right, hopefully this is gonna do its job. Is that sharing okay?
Yes. Yeah, we've got it.
Brilliant. I wonder if it's gonna let me. Is it gonna let me manage it through this? Bear with. 1 second, guys. Sorry.
We were just saying at the start, weren't we? It's always a little technical issue.
Is that still sharing?
Yeah, for me it is.
Yeah.
Okay. That's mysterious. But okay. Let's see. Let's see if this let's see if this works. Okay, well, hi everyone. Yeah, so I'm Maddie. I lead the fashion growth team at TikTok Shop, and I'm gonna whiz through this presentation. You've obviously heard a lot about how you build and kind of dive on top of trending style content, and what I'm here for is how do you convert that into direct revenue on platform through TikTok Shop. I would, 1 second. Sorry, guys, I'm gonna reshare. It's not bearing with. There we go. My goodness. Sorry. Sorry, guys. All right, is this gonna work now?
It does say started screen sharing for me, but then nothing's shared.
Yeah, it's okay. Right.
It's come up.
Okay.
Here you
go. We're in business
We're
now.
on.
Okay. So yeah, so you've learned about how you can hop on the back of content trends. Now we want to monetize that. When we're not talking in terms of awareness, we're talking in terms of revenue. What can TikTok Shop unlock? And before we dive into the actual mechanics of it, here's a kind of why it's such a good place to invest in not just ad spend, but in actually selling your products. So the daily time spent on average in the UK on TikTok is now 128 minutes, which is terrifying to think about. So most people on TikTok are spending over 2 hours a day on the platform. When you're spending that long on the platform, you're also shopping. It is kind of your portal to the world once you're spending that amount of time on it, because the rest of the time you're probably working or at uni or whatever the case may be. So this is why the platform's so powerful. And the average session is just under the 10-minute mark. So people are engaged, they're locked in. When they see stuff, they're absorbing this information, which is why it's a great place to kind of place your branding and your content. It's also because, as was referenced earlier around search engine mentality, people consult TikTok. It's like Ask Jeeves used to be. It's like, I'm going to ask a platform whether I should buy this top or what cleaning products I should use for the floor or whatever. I'm going to go to TikTok if I'm in the younger generation to ask that question. And in fact, Gen Zs use TikTok more than they use Google now, that as a search engine. So it's a really important place to be visible, to be there when people are making these considerations. And it's why it's a really powerful place to also actively sell. So TikTok Shop was the fastest growing platform last year. It actually grew 180% year on year. So even if in your leadership meetings last year, you were like, oh, TikTok Shop isn't right for us yet, the whole ecosystem has already moved on and is moving at a massively fast pace. We've got 200,000 sellers on the platform, and we're growing in terms of number of customers all the time. And actually, TikTok invests a lot in getting people to make that first purchase on TikTok Shop so they then go on to buy from you and your brands. And here's a really good example of a brand or a retailer that's used virality to drive huge revenue. So Zalando only came onto the platform a couple of months ago, and launched this huge affiliate campaign selling, I think it was some North Face stuff and some Adidas sneakers. And they hyperscaled by creating a viral moment around these products and creating a viral product. So this is a case of when you get TikTok Shop involved, you don't just have to piggyback on trends, you can create them and you can make them very product centric as well. So these sneakers are going to trend and they're going to drive direct P&L revenue. And to see someone of the scale of Zalando succeed on the platform gives you a sense of the kind of scale of the players that are operating on TikTok Shop now as well. And why is this different? Why is this special? Why is this going to grow year after year? And it's because it's fully integrated. It's that closed loop piece. It's the fact that if I see something I like, I can hit buy now, Apple Pay, and it's going to be at my door in 2 days. I'm not redirected anywhere. This is super convenient for me as a user, and it's super integrated into my experience of content and into the joy that I experience as I scroll. If I see someone who looks great in a jumper, I enjoy consuming that content, and then I feel joy when I can buy it right away, and I can't wait for it to come in a couple of days. It's an entertainment platform that kind of weaves these joyful transaction moments into people's days as well. And for any of you who haven't experienced TikTok Shop, this is what the experience looks like. You come across a viral video or hop into a live stream. You like the product, so you click into it. You're taken to a very familiar feeling style product page where you can see all the details. You can see the sizing, you can see the ingredients of your beauty, all sorts of things, much like you would expect in standard e-commerce. Then you go to pay, and it's fully integrated with your wallet, or you've loaded your credit card or PayPal or Klarna or something. You hit buy, your item arrives. If you don't like it, you can return it within the platform. If you do like it, maybe you'll make a video about it and continue that viral moment. That's the beauty of this platform. And there's 4 main ways that brands can sell on TikTok Shop. There's shoppable video, which you can do organically. You can put paid ad spend behind. You can use affiliate videos, which we'll get into. But this is kind of the bread and butter stuff you associate with TikTok. And you just make your video shoppable by adding the little product link at the bottom. Then you've got live shopping. Live shopping is brilliant for fashion. It's brilliant for premium brands. So if you have a product that has a price point of maybe more than 25, 30 pounds, and consumers really need to think about buying that product or ask you questions or something like that before they purchase, live streaming is your biggest friend, because consumers can ask you, would that fit a size 10? What ingredients have you got in that? Would it work on my skin tone? How do you use those GHD curlers? That kind of thing that helps them get over that final hurdle. It's kind of the new shop front as well. It's a way for you to present your brand and convey a kind of brand world that you would like, that's quite controlled. Then there's the showcase and the shop tab, which are the areas of the app that feel very much like Amazon. And here you win if you've got clear product images, you've got great titles with high SEO, and you can also put ad spend to increase your visibility of your products when people are searching for things like white t-shirts or Coca-Cola, something like that. Depending on what product you sell, different ones of these will have a different impact, and I would recommend a different focus. And I'll come to it at the end, but if you want any strategic advice off the back of this as to what would be your most natural strategy, I'm more than happy to give it and connect you with the home and living expert, the food expert, whatever it is you need to help give you that advice. So shoppable video, as mentioned, is just adding this product tag to your videos. Super simple, low lift, very easy to do. Live shopping it basically shoves your brand in front of people who you wouldn't normally get your brand in front of, because it's a lot of people who are just looking through live streams. They find one that looks interesting, they join it, and then they listen and absorb. So that's the power of live shopping. Then this is what the showcase looks like, and you would tag this to your brand handle so that as people are exploring your content, they could also shop your products. And then Shop Tab, it's that Amazon-esque e-commerce experience that's driven by search, driven by spotlight features, driven by campaigns, driven by pricing. That's more familiar to most e-commerce brands. These are some of the brands on the platform at the moment. There's a huge array. These are probably some of the bigger names, but TikTok Shop is brilliant at scaling challenger and small brands as well. So even though you've got a L'Oreal, you've got an ASOS, you've got a Puma on the platform, you've got more stories of founders launching brands on TikTok Shop and sending out 100 samples and unlocking £200,000 a month because 5 of those videos went viral. That's quite a common story on TikTok Shop as well. So whether you're big or whether you're small, there's a space and there's a strategy. So if you wanted to start selling on TikTok Shop, the barriers are actually quite low. So you would register for a shop and it would create a seller center. And then you would probably integrate your website with TikTok Shop. So whether you're on Shopify, where we've got a free plugin to drag your products across and to push orders back through to your e-commerce, or you've got a more complex tech stack that requires a bit of integration work, there's always a way to connect your inventory, your orders, your products through to TikTok Shop. So it's just an extension of your standard e-commerce. Here are some of the example connectors that we've got. We have in-house integration experts who can help advise you as you get started, and can connect with the tech teams on your side as well, just to make sure that everything is flowing correctly. And then there's also multiple fulfillment options. So you can either choose to fulfill TikTok Shop orders through your standard e-commerce logistics network. Orders just get pushed through as a standard order in your kind of order flow. You can use our logistics solutions that come at a very kind of reduced fee, or you can even choose to store your products in our TikTok warehouse, and we manage everything from shipping to returns, etc. And within all this, because it's such a closed loop system, because you see who's viewing your videos and you see who's buying, you get huge amounts of data that agencies like Modo can use to target, to understand your audience. You can see who really are your consumers, who you're acquiring, all of that really, really rich data that helps you kind of understand who your next generation of customers is going to be as well. And that's one of the best bits of all of this, is that you have such clear visibility of what's happening. I know that attribution when you use normal paid ads can sometimes be quite difficult to track, quite grey and murky. This is perfectly clear. Your video is viewed by 100 people, 3 people bought, they're of this gender, this is why they bought. Perfect clarity. And with that, I'm going to take a pause and I'll just open the floor to questions if there are any as well.
Perfect, thank you. I am just having a look at some of the questions. So we have, how do you recommend brands balance being reactive to trends with maintaining their unique brand voice and long-term content strategy as a first one? So from my point of view, I would always say to my clients that you should use trends as almost like a layer to your overall content strategy, rather than like trying to pivot your entire TikTok strategy to be based on just trends alone. Obviously jumping on a trend can help with that overall visibility and your engagement, but it should still be through your brand lens, rather than just jumping on something for the sake of it. Like, does it actually align with your brand whatsoever? Like the classic compliment, don't compromise. And then, like I touched on before, having a flexible content calendar. So typically for my clients, I would try to plan a month in advance, but I always leave buffer spaces like per week, where I know in that week I will spend some time scrolling TikTok, scrolling Instagram, seeing something that's trending, and then how I can apply it to the client, just to make sure that we've got that relevancy to what people are engaging with on the platforms as well. But obviously, like I said, we will always tie that back to the overall brand's tone of voice. So you can stay relevant, but you can also kind of like show your brand personality. I'm gonna just see.
I think there is one for Maddie in there. Yeah.
I was just typing an answer, but I can say it quickly. No, it's a good question. Why are there not more brands who are on TikTok in a big way that aren't on TikTok Shop in a big way? And it's a very good question. I think for a lot of brands, TikTok Shop is either a bit intimidating because you need a different strategy depending on your category and depending on your price point. A lot of leadership teams, I find, are a little bit wary and unsure of what to do with TikTok Shop. And are often unaware of the kind of scale of the money that you could be earning through that platform. So Made by Mitchell made $1 million in one day a few months back. P. Louise has done a $2 million live. I think people don't quite understand the scale of it yet. And then often I'm also told, isn't it just for cheap products, which I think is TikTok Shop a la 1 year ago, 2 years ago. Through that massive growth phase I mentioned of like 180%, we've seen a huge shift in the order value on TikTok Shop, in the kind of brands that are coming on. We sell Birkin bags on TikTok Shop now. Like there are a few products but it's not suitable for TikTok Shop, and I would openly tell you which those are. But for most brands, I think it's a bit of an intimidation factor and some false assumptions at the moment.
Thank you. I don't know if there's anything else. Let me just have a look. Emanuela, maybe just a quick one, how small businesses with maybe limited ad budgets can still effectively compete and ride trends.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I think the key focus is for you to show up authentic through the organic content and consistently. And once you know what's working, then put in small budget behind it through Spark ads, or as Maddie mentioned as well, like just testing TikTok Shop. And using that budget more like lower funnel, and once you start seeing that performance, then going up and creating more of the brand awareness space.
Thank you. There are a couple of other questions, but we're conscious that we've overrun. So we're going to wrap it up here. However, we can send over email addresses to reach out to. I know Maddie's just put a comment in. So if anyone's got any questions on TikTok Shop, obviously we specialize in paid social as a channel here at Modo 25. So we, like Emanuela said at the start, we offer paid social.
And I think we have a QR code.
Deck. Yeah, we might have to send the QR code round. But we specialize in paid social management. So if it is something that you wanted some support with, or wanted an audit of your current strategy, maybe even if it's not just TikTok, then we're more than happy to help. But yeah, I think that's about it to wrap things up. So thank you for joining, and I don't know what the weather's like with you. It's not very good in Leeds, but I hope you all have a lovely evening and enjoy the rest of your week.
Yes, thank you, everyone.